In Paul's letter to the Philippians, Philippi, on this weekend, we gather as a precious gift. We thank you as well for the freedoms we take for granted, to speak freely without censure, to work, even to dissent. We give thanks, know it full well. We pray for the day when in the words of your prophet, Martin Luther, hallowed be thy name. Thy King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah. King Darius, the word of the Lord came to Zechariah on the fourth day of the have done these many years. Then the word of the Lord came to me saying, say to all the people of the Lord came to me saying, say to all the people of the land, purpose-built KKK meeting hall in the They would take out full-page ads, women's auxiliary, ladies of the KKK. Full-page ads, women's auxiliary, ladies of the KKK. He said it was basically the KKK members huddled inside their headquarters, shows hundreds of Klan members. Another sign said, America first. Many believe the Klan's building location was strategically placed to intimidate. In the stockyards not far away were thousands of immigrant laborers speaking so many different languages, the fields needed translators for the translators. The streetcar connected the north of Fort Worth to downtown, so these laborers potentially passed by the big brick building each and every day. The Klan was super proud of their building. An enormous stage house, the best lights. They hosted touring shows like the St. Louis Symphony and Harry Houdini. Yet we know within those red brick walls hosted the heavy presence of a hateful ideology that still has its roots in America today. After the Klan became curtailed and no longer used the building, it served a few other purposes. For a time, it was a public boxing arena. In 1947, Ellis Pecan Company moved their operations into the building. Today, there are mixed feelings about what to do with this last KKK building. There have been architectural historians who've said the building should be scraped clean because we don't need the memory. Some wonder if the building's shell should remain in place, but the space restored to something new. Others see the building as an insult and not worth saving. The building has sat for 27 years unoccupied, holding history and horror at 1012 South Main Street. In our scripture story today, the people of Israel were dealing with their own horrible history. After the Babylonians invaded Jerusalem and destroyed the temple, they took many Israelites into exile. Some 70 years later, the descendants of the exiles finally began returning to their ancestral homeland. While in exile, they received assurance from God that they would return to their desolate land, rebuild their ruined cities, and restore their cherished temple. At first, they were eager to rebuild the temple. They built an altar, they laid a foundation, but outside oppression quickly dampened their spirits, and the work of rebuilding lost all momentum. The temple foundation lay untouched for almost 20 years. I wonder what it was like to pass by the unfinished temple day after day for nearly 2 decades, to wonder if their hope-filled project would ever be completed, to wonder if the temple would ever be restored to what it was before. The task of rebuilding, especially after trauma, is daunting. With so much work to do, coupled by the lack of governmental support, it's no wonder the Israelites became overwhelmed, discouraged, and stopped the work midstream. The unfinished project needed a plan. The people needed a vision for what could be and a leader who could help them see it. Cue the prophet Zechariah. Zechariah's name means Yahweh has remembered. Zechariah knew God had not forgotten God's people. He knew God wanted to restore their hope. So Zechariah reminded the people of God's promises, that God had a dream and a vision for their future. Like other biblical prophets, Zechariah had the ability to see the long view, to look above the chaos of the present moment, to see a future where people flourish in God-centered community. Zechariah could envision the work completed, restoration of the temple and restoration of their spirit. His words would go on to encourage the community to take up their tools and begin again, to put in the work, rebuilding the temple and rebuilding their lives. While there are mixed feelings about what to do with 1012 North Main Street, a diverse team called Transform 1012 has been tasked with transforming this former KKK building into a place of hope and joy. Transform 1012 has pulled together design architects and consultants to listen to and engage the community in honest reflection about the history of the space, to reflect on what healing may mean for the city and the community, and to dream up what could be. Before they begin designing or constructing anything on the property or in the space, the team has started conducting listening sessions, asking the community to reflect, filling in this statement. Healing means blank. One person wrote, healing means finding peace with the scars we carry. Another said, healing means starting to understand yourself and people around you and their intentions. And another said, healing means empathy, compassion, and forgiveness. Another said, healing means a scar is left. As prophet and priest, Zechariah had his own sort of challenge to engage the community in the healing process. Prophets carry the heavy burden of truth-telling, and Zechariah does not hesitate to hold up Israel's history. He extols his generation to remember the past, to recall the mistakes and sins of their ancestors so they can never go back to the way things were before. But then there's this interesting moment right in the middle of the book. Here was this young Zechariah laying out the tools at the base of the foundation, setting up, preparing plans, practicing his inspiring speech to galvanize the people. And a group of Israelites comes to Zechariah, still mourning the former temple that was destroyed, asking, is it time to stop grieving? Is God's kingdom coming soon? Grieving the former temple was their practice for the last 70 years. They mourned and they fasted as religious practice. But now that the temple was being rebuilt and restored, what were they to do? How were they to live? Spiritually and emotionally exhausted from the trauma of exile, their question feels like a desperate plea of a tired people, tired of despair, tired of staring at the foundation with no walls, tired of the unfinished. So they ask Zechariah, is there reason to hope? Is there reason to celebrate? Celebrations of America's 250th, this Independence Day weekend, have garnered mixed feelings for many Americans. I imagine if we were to do a show of hands today in our congregation, we would be all over the map with mixed emotions about the state of our nation. Recent Gallup polling shows that most Americans, 8 out of 10, now feel the signers of the Declaration of Independence would be disappointed with how the U.S. has turned out. Another recent poll from the Associated Press reveals a stark divide with how Americans are feeling. About 4 in 10 U.S. adults feel proud about the country's 250th anniversary. Older Americans are more likely to feel proud, 6 out of 10, while adults under 30 are more likely to say they're not planning to celebrate at all. Some are asking, how can we not celebrate when we've seen how far we've come? Others are asking, how can we celebrate when there's still so much injustice? This group approaches the prophet Zechariah, looks around at the half-finished temple. As we look around and see how far we've come as a country and yet how far we have to go. What's next? Like the people, we too have questions about how to live day by day. Like the people, we need a word from the Lord, good news that better days are ahead of us. Zechariah listens to their question, yet he does not answer. Instead of answering their question, Zechariah reverses it. He turns and asks the people, will you become the people who are ready to participate in God's kingdom? Their grief and lament over the destroyed temple was appropriate for the time. Yet in Judaism, grief practices like mourning and fasting were meant to have an impact on people's lives, to move people forward towards justice and moral action. The new temple was unfinished and there was work to be done. But Zechariah's challenge to action is not just to rebuild a temple, but to rebuild a people. So Zechariah goes on to describe what participation in God's kingdom would look like. Dispense true justice and practice kindness and compassion and mercy. Do not oppress the widow or the orphan. Do not oppress the stranger, the refugee, the immigrant. Do not oppress the poor, and do not devise evil in your hearts against one another. This is the character of God, and this is what the people of God rebuilt will look like. Zechariah asked the people, are you ready to participate in this? No matter what oppressive government rules over you, dampens your flame, or stifles your spirit, will you show up and keep doing the work? Zechariah goes on to describe God's kingdom as not being built by might or by power, but by God's Spirit. God's kingdom, he envisions, is one of peace, where old men and old women shall again sit in the streets of Jerusalem, and the streets of the city shall be full of children playing. God's dream for the world is grander than any one country or nation, grander than what the eyes can see, and like only the prophet can do, Zechariah a glimpse of it. Of Martin Luther King Jr. Warnock says God's dream for the world is and always will be a group project. Reflecting on this holiday weekend, Reverend Warnock describes America like a building project, but not just any building project. America, Warnock says, is like a grand cathedral, 250 years in the making. Yet, after all these years, we are still wrestling and toiling. Cathedrals take a long time to build, with structures that are vast, intricate, complicated, ornate, and costly. One famous American cathedral, St. John the Divine in New York City, was constructed beginning in 1892. Although it was consecrated and opened to the public in 1941, only 2/3 of the original plan is complete. To this day, the cathedral is nicknamed St. John the Unfinished. Warnock says when it comes to building a cathedral, skilled artisans and builders sign up for the honor of contributing to such a masterpiece. But even as they work, they recognize that they likely will not live to see the completion of the majestic marvel that they are helping to construct. Yet the role of each of them plays is crucial in shaping the full magnificence to come. Unfinished business is the name given to sections of the new Obama Presidential Center in Chicago. In the unveiling of the new center a couple weeks ago, the former president spoke of several sections throughout the museum which reflect unfinished business, sometimes reflecting his own shortcomings and mistakes. Obama said no administration accomplishes everything they set out to do. He said it's like the sign he kept on the Resolute desk that read, "Hard things are hard." And that's especially true, he says, in a big, raucous, diverse, argumentative democracy like the United States of America. If you stand outside of 1012 North Main Street in Fort Worth today, you will see what looks unfinished. Transform 1012's social media page, having a conversation. Some white, some rich. We often look at the bricks and mortar of this structure, but the real transformation is happening right in the middle of healing. Healing this and community healing, named after answers, and to us, where we can get started. The widow who needs community, she's right out. There is work yet to be. There is work yet to be.